Like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates.
A new riverkeeper becomes a voice for the conservation and protection of the Yarra River as befitting a riverkeeper. Charlotte Sterrett lives just 3 doors down from the waters she watches over. On a warm, clear day, there is a swimming hole in the Yarra, Birrarung, river she likes to go to with her daughter, partner, and dog. The bank there isn't too steep, and the current is gentle. The air is filled with the sounds of birds and the wind in the trees. The water looks brown because of the suspended particles, which are very fine and come from the clay that is in the earth around us, Sterrett told ABCRN's Blueprint for Living. While that colour has led people to dub it the upside-down river, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is unclean. It is just a very Australian river. The river is deeply tied up with Sterrett's sense of identity and belonging to Melbourne. I always think about how Wurundjeri Woi wurrung people are connected to their country, and to me, that little part of my backyard is really part of me. I care deeply about the future of the river. And I know what happens upstream affects what happens downstream. The Yarra Riverkeeper Association is an independent, community-led organisation of advocates, and she became their riverkeeper in January. Sterrett is the 3rd person and the 1st woman in the role. She is very aware of how much she must learn, and what hangs in the balance. A voice for the river. I've lived by the river for 15 years in North Warrandyte, she says. And I knew about the Yarra Riverkeeper Association because the first ever riverkeeper Ian Penrose lived on my street. Sterrett says there are some 11 waterkeepers in Australia, but about 350 plus worldwide who belong to the Waterkeeper Alliance. For her, it is a dream job. It means she is now an independent voice for the Yarra, speaking for its protection from source to sea. From its origin on Mount Baw Baw in the Yarra Ranges National Park, the river flows some 242 kilometres all the way down to Port Phillip Bay. The river mouth was once a rich river delta with connected wetlands stretching from where the Melbourne CBD is now to Port Phillip Bay. Today, it is an estuary where salt water from the bay travels nearly 10 kilometres upstream. What many don't realise, says Sterrett, is that the river is the source of 70% of Melbourne's drinking water. The river's catchment area spans some 4,000 square kilometres, but with more than 1/3 of Victoria's population living on it, the river is under mounting pressure. Water's under threat every day. Sterrett goes into the community to talk to people about the river and the challenges it faces. The waters of the Yarra, its tributaries and creeks support agriculture, industry and tourism, while providing water for household use. Sterrett believes those functions are too often prioritised at the expense of the river itself. Dams and reservoirs, including the Upper Yarra Reservoir, completed in 1957, have impeded the flow of the river. Part of that was to stop flooding and also secure the water supply, says Sterrett. The river lost around half of its flow back then. Then there is the question of pollution. Sterrett avoids going swimming in the days after a storm when runoff can contaminate the river with rubbish, fertiliser, and chemical runoff. The whole of Melbourne is a drain. Wherever you drop litter or a cigarette butt or spill something that you shouldn't eat, it is probably going to end up in the river. Simultaneously, the green banks of the Yarra are under threat. In the upper reaches of the river, indigenous vegetation has been cleared away to make room for agriculture and golf courses, while in the lower Yarra, large apartment buildings are among developments causing concern. Sterrett visits the occupants of these apartments to talk about what they can do as friends of the Yarra. This could include restoring or regenerating the sections of the bank that are closest to them. So, instead of just looking at the river and using it as an amenity, our aim is for them to know the river better, so they become advocates themselves, their own riverkeepers. But these aren't the most significant challenges facing the river. Melbourne's population is set to explore. Simultaneously, climate models project a drier climate future for Victoria, particularly under a high-emission scenario. So, we've got a crisis on our hands. We've got double the population, potentially half the amount of water, It is not really going to be sustainable. Sterrett feels a sense of urgency, a small window in which to make big changes. And key to that is recognizing these challenges, and the solutions, are interconnected. Learning from the traditional owners. While most of the waterways and land of the Birrarung is on Wurundjeri Woi wurrung country, the mouth of the river sits in Birrarung country. There are many cultural sites,